Today we dedicate this program in memory of our former colleague, Bob Chadbourne, who died September 19th following a long illness. Bob was one of the first reporters for Reel to Reel when it started on the air in 1984 and was with us for more than 16 years. He was a talented broadcast journalist who loved to tell the stories of everyday people and places, which he did so well. Bob Chadbourne was 81 years old. Coming up on this edition of Reel to Reel.
I'm Steve Kiltonic. I'll have the story of a recent Holyoke Catholic and now Pope Francis high school graduate who has spent the past 3 summers living out his dream under the big top.
Mark Giza highlights some recent big screen movie releases. And New England's Great State Fair. These stories and more are just ahead on this edition of Reel to Reel from the Big E in West Springfield. Hello and welcome to Reel, coming to you today from the fairgrounds at the Eastern States Exposition in West Springfield, best known as the Big E. A century of greatness, that's what they're celebrating here as the Big E is marking its 100th anniversary. It rose from the muddy swamps of West Springfield and Agawam to become one of the country's largest agricultural fairs, now attracting more than 1 million visitors each year. Steve Kiltonic kicks off the show today with the incredible history behind the Eastern States Exposition and the vision of one man who made it all possible more than a century ago.
It's October 5th, 2015, a day after the Eastern States Exposition has officially closed. Vendors and exhibitors pack up into hundreds of tractors, trailers, and pickups, bringing down the curtain on another hugely successful Big E. While Hurricane Joaquin put a damper on a 4th straight attendance record, still over 1,300,000 visitors walked through the turnstiles. As Gene Cassidy, the president and CEO of the Eastern States, cruises around the fairgrounds, the clock is ticking on the 2016 Centennial Year celebration, which is less than a year away.
People often think, when the fair closes down, you start the next day planning for next year's fair. With our 100th anniversary in 2016, that's something we've been working on now for more than the past 24 months. So it takes years to plan. It takes several weeks for us to build each fair, because let's say you have 1,400,000 people on the fairgrounds in 17 days. That's like building a city. So that takes weeks to do. The fact of the matter is, though, taking it down happens much faster.
It was the vision of entrepreneur Joshua L. Brooks that led to the creation of the Eastern States. Born in Brookline, Brooks moved to Springfield in 1898 to establish the Brooks Banknote and Lithographing Company. Brooks saw that regional agriculture was declining and believed unless New England farmers were successful, its industries would also suffer. Brooks and 2 business friends, Horace Moses and Harry Fisk, felt farmers needed a place to unite and share best practices.
Those gentlemen got together, they pooled their resources, and Mr. Brooks took the lead, and they established the Eastern States Agricultural and Industrial Exposition here in West Springfield.
Springfield State Fair Associates purchased 120 acres of swampy hayland in both West Springfield and Agawam on the banks of the Agawam River. It was an area subject to frequent flooding and deemed of little value, but the group saw its potential for growth and accessibility. Brooks' marketing genius won over the people in Chicago.
He created a fairgrounds concept, and he sold the concept to the National Dairy Show in Chicago without having built a single building on this campus.
In 9 short months, Brooks was able to construct the fairgrounds, which included the A Barn, or Stroh Building, the B Barn, or Coliseum, and the C Barn, or Women's Building, now called the New England Center.
He promised a case of beer to the workers every week if they could meet certain goals. And they raised the steel arches. There are 10 steel arches that support the Coliseum building, and they raised the arches 1 a day for 10 days.
Shortly after the Eastern States opened, Brooks added Helen Storrow to his board of directors.
In the 19-teens, a female on a board of directors was unheard of. She was one of the first female board members of the 20th century, and she was the person who developed Storyton Village.
From 1927 until 1932, Storrow invested $9 million of her own to build a replica of a small New England village. The fairgrounds closed in 1918 when the War Department took over during World War I. After the war, the state buildings were built. Massachusetts was the first in 1919, while Rhode Island was the last in 1957. Over the years, the fair has had its share of weather-related disasters. In 1927 and 1936, the grounds were extensively flooded. But the hurricane of 1938 caused the most extensive damage of all, striking during the fair.
People who were in the horse show in the Coliseum were completely unaware that the hurricane had passed around the fairgrounds, which were devastated by the hurricane. All of the tents and the midway then was blown over, so the fair was shut down.
To chronicle the rich history of New England's grandest fair, the Eastern States Exposition turned to the Republican newspapers. Their 142-page collaboration is called Eastern States Exposition Centennial, a century of fun at the Big E. Wayne Fanoff, executive editor of The Republican, has been familiar with the Big E since his early days as a reporter 47 years ago.
One of my first assignments was covering the Big E, and I loved it, and I've loved it ever since I was a little kid. With me, the two big moments of the year were Christmas and Big E.
Last winter, Fanoff met with the exposition staff to review their photo archives.
We put our archives and the Eastern States archives together, and we had close to 12,000 photos. The biggest thing was going through these photos and which ones do you pick?
The book includes chapters on entertainment, food, Starrowtown Village, the Avenue of States, and weather disasters. Several timelines take readers through important dates, like 1953, when President Eisenhower visited, and the 4 years during World War II, when the grounds became a storage depot for the U.S. government. Of course, some fairgoers go to the Big E just for the food. There's the traditional fare like the Maine baked potato, fried dough, the corn dog, and the Rhode Island clam cakes. Then there's the signature Big E items like the Big E cream puff and Big E eclair. And the Crazy Burger, a bacon cheeseburger sandwiched between a glazed donut bun. Entertainment is also one of the fair's biggest attractions. Some of the greatest acts and entertainers in the world have played before Big E crowds. Johnny Cash, Charlie Daniels.
There's a great photo of Liberace doing the twist, I think, with Governor Volpe. There's a great picture of Bob Hope where all of the fans have got their noses pressed against a window. When she was kind of first starting out with Destiny's Child, Beyonce was here.
Other performers include Roy Rogers and Arthur Godfrey. There have also been countless acts under the big top. The Midway features rides and games of all types for young and old. And the festive Mardi Gras parade is always a crowd pleaser. The fair's agricultural roots remain strong. The Mallory Complex and Stroh Building host hundreds of agricultural contests and exhibits, which have been a fixture at the Big E since its inception.
Our shows are bigger today than they have ever been, and that's because we draw animals from throughout North America, including Canada, of course. Our FFA programming, we involve 18 states. There's no fair in America that has that broad involvement from future farmers of America.
When the Big E gates close this centennial year, another million-plus visitors will take with them cherished memories that will last a lifetime.
This is the kind of thing I bring my grandchildren to, that my grandfather brought me to, that my great-grandfather worked at. I can go back 4 generations of the fair, and I'm not alone in that. I think there's basically hundreds of thousands of people that have had that same experience.
Tradition. It's why New England's grandest fair will continue to capture the imagination of future generations of fairgoers who walk through its turnstiles for the next century. For Reel to Reel, I'm Steve Kiltonic.
Wow, and standing on the roof of the Brooks Building, named after the founder of this fair, and looking out at the grounds, you just have to picture those days at the beginning 100 years ago. So much history here, so much evolution over the last century. And joining me now is Gene Cassidy, president of the Eastern States Exposition, who I am sure is one of the most excited people here at the fair. Congratulations, Gene.
Thanks, Sharon. And yes, all of us who are involved in the production are really thrilled about the birthday. And I hope the viewers are too.
I'm sure they are. Now, Steve Kiltonic just brought us through the last 100 years, all the wonderful agricultural, industrial, educational exhibits, and I understand folks here at the fair will be able to learn a lot more about the history.
You can, and we're very, very proud. We put together, it took us about 2.5 years to build what we're calling our 100th anniversary exhibit in the Young Building, where folks can be reminded or be educated about the history and roots of the Eastern States, the natural disasters, the floods, the hurricanes, the wars, the epidemics, and the fact that the Eastern States has stayed strong and true to its roots through and through. And we've been interrupted a few times with wars and whatnot, but here we are, stronger than ever. Our ag programming is bigger today than it has ever been in our history. And for those of us who are close to agriculture, that is something we're most proud of.
That's wonderful. So we have the past and we definitely have the present. What is new for this year that fairgoers can look forward to? Some new delicious treats perhaps?
Well, as you know, food has become entertainment in recent years. There's networks and channels dedicated to it. And so we're very happy this year. We always do new things, and we've got great concessionaires. Many of them are local, and this year we're very happy that the Student Prince, the Fort restaurant from Springfield, has joined us. The iconic name and restaurateurs, Peter Picknelly and Andy Yee, they're here on the grounds with a play on words, the Worst House. And of course, there's also all tremendous other gastronomic delights. And if you go to thebiggie.com, you can be surprised and plan your diet for the day.
And you were also telling me there's a couple of friends of ours from Spencer.
Oh yes, Sharon, we're very, very proud. The Spencer Trappist monks from Spencer, Massachusetts are here with the help from Paul Kozub, another great name in distilling in the area, and they're offering their Spencer Trappist Ale on the fairgrounds, and they've got a great feature where you can drink like a monk and have an educational, actually they do a marvelous job with an educational presentation about the monastery and the production of their beer here in North America.
Well, that sounds wonderful. I have to check that out. All right, Gene Cassidy, thanks so much for having us here today, and congratulations again on your anniversary.
Sharon, thank you for being here. It's my pleasure.
Our pleasure. Thank you. And still there's a week left for you to come down to the Biggie in West Springfield for lots of fun, shows, exhibits, and of course, food. You can check it all out online, and we have a link on our website at iobserve.org. And still to come on Reel to Reel, Mark Giza will have some fall movie picks, and I'll share with you the story of one local priest and his adventures in learning the art of beekeeping. These stories and more are still to come on this edition of Reel to Reel from the Biggie in West Springfield.
The Chalice of Salvation, your weekly spiritual connection. I'm Passion's brother Terrence Scanlon, your Chalice host, inviting you to take time out of your busy days and join us Sunday morning at 10. We welcome Bishop Mitchell Rosansky as our Mass presider and celebrate the new catechetical year. The Chalice of Salvation, your spiritual connection, Sunday morning at 10, right here on TV 22 News.
Tom Hanks makes the right choice, Michael Fassbender makes the wrong choice, and for the first time, actress Meg Ryan puts on a director's hat. Let's take a look at this week's Real Culture.
Sully. Sully the movie is a great new film from director Clint Eastwood. Eastwood has given us such great films like Mystic River and the Oscar-winning film Unforgiven. And now he brings us the true story of Chelsea Sully Sullenberger, the man who successfully completed an emergency landing of an Airbus full of passengers on the Hudson River. Who could forget that incident? Eastwood has made a smart choice choosing Tom Hanks. This actor is perfect in this role. He shows control, true determination, and a wonderful, full-bodied performance. We are all at the edge of our seats watching this film, and we all know how it turns out. But to get the old adrenaline pumping, go see Sully. This is a great film by a great director, starring a great actor.
Too low, terrain. Too low, terrain.
This is the captain. Brace for impact.
Ithaca. Meg Ryan as a director? Yes, friends, she does it, and she does a great job. Ithaca is a story of a special era, the 1940s. A 14-year-old boy looks after his widowed mother and two siblings while working as a bicycle messenger. Okay, I know many critics have been very cold to this movie, but I have a true big heart, and I love family stories and family dramas. If you want to have your heart warmed up just a little bit more, go see Ithaca and get 2 big thumbs up for Meg Ryan as a director.
I don't like the way things are. They don't just die for nothing, do they?
You are becoming aware of a world in which you've been a child.
And one movie you should really pass by and not waste your time on is The Light Between Oceans, starring Elisa Vandekender and Michael Fassbender, one of my favorite actors of all time. This is a dreary, over-the-top soap opera film that no one needs to see. The story of 2 lonely people living on an island, longing to have a child, until one day when a rowboat washes upon the shore with a baby girl inside. Do they keep the baby? What will happen? Nobody cares. It's a pure soap opera from beginning to end.
She needs us. We're not doing anything wrong.
And you can see my reviews, as well as read other movie reviews provided by the Conference of Catholic Bishops online at iobserve.org. That's iobserve.org. And some more exciting entertainment news. Being a member of the Broadcast Film Critics Association, we have moved our awards to December 11th, 1 month earlier. So I will be flying out to Hollywood in mid-December to cover the awards, the stars, the parties, and the grandeur of it all. Only on Real Culture will you get the coverage. I'm Mark Giza for Real Culture. Have a fabulous weekend, and we'll see you at the movies.
Here at the Big E, there are 2 sweet spots where you can observe nature at work. Both exhibits from the Massachusetts Hampden County Beekeepers Association showcase the work of honeybees. This past spring, one of our own priests, Father Jack Schaefer, the new pastor of St. Francis of Assisi Parish in Belchertown, built his own hive and began a hobby that he had long wanted to try. Videographer Bill Picoscia and I visited Father Jack and his bees this past summer when he was still pastor of St. Mary's in Lee and St. Joseph's in Stockbridge to get an up-close and personal look at what goes into keeping bees.
Bees have been producing honey for at least 150 million years. Honey stored in airtight containers never spoils. Sealed honey vats found in King Tut's tomb still contained edible honey, despite over 2,000 years beneath the sands. This fascinating world of honeybee colonies has long intrigued Father Jack Schaefer.
About 2 years ago, I saw a documentary on Bert Shavitz, who people know as Bert from Bert's Bees. And it's an interesting story, kind of a sad story. He actually has since died in his early 80s. But I watched that, and it just kind of lit that fire underneath me that I wanted to do this.
And this year, after much reading and research, Father Jack bought himself a hive and all the equipment needed to keep honeybees. On the summer day that Reel to Reel visited, he gave us a lesson on the ins and outs of what goes into maintaining a beehive, starting with the hive, and this particular style, the Waré hive, developed by a priest in France named Father Émile Waré in the early 1900s.
So the hive itself is from Seattle, came as a kit, so I had to put it together. And this is a box right here, and the whole thing is made out of cedar. And I opted to do it so that I could look in, just kind of check on things without disturbing them too much.
Now, besides the hive that houses the bees, there are important tools needed for inspecting and maintaining the hive.
Before you go into a beehive, you need to kind of keep them preoccupied. So we use smoke, and with the smoke, they have a sense that there might be a little bit of danger, but they're not panicking. But they'll go in and they'll make sure that they have enough nourishment, and they make sure that things in the hive are okay.
Of course, you need to be protected when checking on the bees, so we suited up from head to toe. Then we were off to see what the buzz was all about. First, we had to lift off the top boxes to expose one box filled with some very busy bees. Father Jack says he started his hive with about 10,000 bees, and in the height of the summer, it's expected that number will swell to about 45,000. On average, a worker bee will only make 1/2 of a teaspoon of honey in his lifetime. And bees must visit about 2 million flowers, traveling about 55,000 miles to make 1 pound of honey.
So what I really want to do now is I'm going to take out one of the larger of these combs and just make sure the queen is laying.
Father Jack named his queen Beatrice, and he says some parishioners tell him that his bees are Byzantine. But all joking aside, Father Jack says that this complicated and yet so simple system is all proof of God's handiwork.
You know, we see in Scripture that, God, knows about every bird and every hair on your head and whatnot. So, I certainly think God's hand is very strongly in the social system and the work system of bees and of all of us. I mean, this whole thing works together miraculously, I think, the whole planet.
The patron saint of beekeepers, St. Ambrose, Bishop of Milan, sums it all up perfectly. The fruit of bees is desired by all and is equally sweet to kings and beggars, and it is not only pleasing but profitable and healthful. It sweetens their mouths, cures their wounds, and conveys remedies to inward ulcers.
After I interviewed Father Jack, he had 2 incidents with some hungry bears, formidable foes of beekeepers, and unfortunately, the bears won and his hives were destroyed. But Father Jack tells me that he does plan to get another hive and try again next spring in Belchertown. Well, there is definitely no funny business when it comes to bees and bears, but our next story involves a lot of clowning around. It's called Circus Smirkus, and it's the only traveling youth circus in the country. It's a place kids get to learn and to hone their skills of flipping, flying, juggling, and clowning. One talented performer from Holyoke Catholic's last official graduating class also graduated from the Vermont-based troupe this summer after 3 action-packed seasons. Steve Kiltonick returns now with the story of Cameron Zweer.
At the 3-county fairgrounds this past summer, the circus was in town. It was filled with death-defying aerial acts, tumbling acrobats, nimble-fingered jugglers, sure-footed wire walkers, and of course clowns to make everyone forget the 95-degree heat outside. But on closer inspection, one can see that these performers are young. Their ages range from 11 to 18. They're all part of Circus Smirkus, the country's only traveling youth circus, which has been entertaining crowds for more than a quarter century. Behind the makeup of this clown in the aviator cap is Cameron Zweer, a 2015 graduate of the former Holyoke Catholic High School. Cam's journey to become a Smirkus trooper actually started with gymnastics at age 7.
When I was a little kid, I used to jump around a lot, climb over trees, and so my parents decided to put me in gymnastics as a good outlet for all that energy. I did floor and vault, which is very acrobatic-y, tumbly sort of skill set, and that really helped me transfer into circus.
In his freshman year at Holyoke Catholic, Cam joined the Performing Arts Club and was the school's spirit leader. But after seeing a Circus Smirkus show called Oz Incorporated, he was hooked.
As I was watching it, I was saying to myself, oh, I can do that, I can do this is really cool. And so my parents after the show asked me how I liked it, and I said I really enjoyed it.
Psyched, Cam made an audition video and sent it to Troy Wonderly, Smirkus' artistic director and only adult performer.
He was on my A list from the beginning. He was a strong boy, he was a big boy, he was young. He had a very sensitive heart and a kind soul. He seemed to be someone that was extremely passionate about the art of circus, but not afraid of the work that goes into circus as well.
Cam made the final cut and joined 29 others from across the country who made up the 2014 Smirkus Troopers. Each year, the group rehearses for 3 weeks at the Smirkus headquarters in Greensboro, Vermont, before hitting the road. This year's show is called Up, Up and Away, The Invention of Flight. Circus Smirkers travels all over New England and New York. This year, it made stops in 15 cities while performing 66 shows.
My first year, I was mostly just an acrobat. I would do some pyramids, tumbling, and just help out in transitions wherever I could. And this year, I'm definitely more comfortable performing in front of everyone.
Over the past 3 years, Cam has proven to be an invaluable member of the circus.
One of the things that Cam's phenomenal at is his diversity. He's brought on as a real strong bass. He plays character, so you'll see him clowning in our show. You'll see him doing aerial basing as well. He does this gorgeous act that's up in the sky called Cradle, where he flips and manipulates a flyer through the sky in ways that you wouldn't suspect.
This is Cam's last year with Smirkus, and Wonderly says he'll be missed.
He's a big brother to every single member of this troupe, and the little kids adore him, and the older kids still look up to him with full respect. So he's the full package. He is exactly what I look for in a Circus Smirkus trooper.
One of the best things about it is definitely the audiences, their reactions to what we do, their applause, their laughter. We just love to inspire crowds, and that's what we live for.
Over the years, Circus Smirkus has been a training ground for many performers who went on to launch professional careers with big-time circuses like Cirque du Soleil and Barnum and Bailey. While Cam isn't pursuing that avenue, he does have his sights set high on Hollywood.
I'm off to Savannah College of Art and Design in the fall. I will be studying acting and stunt work, and I hope to be a stuntman someday.
A couple of Circus Smirkus graduates have already made it to Hollywood as stuntmen working for a director by the name of Steven Spielberg. Cam hopes to join them one day on the silver screen. For Reel to Reel, I'm Steve Kiltonic.
Best of luck to Cam this semester as he pursues his dreams. And you can find out more about the performers in Circus Smirkus, where they perform, when they will be back next summer in our area. We have a link on our website at iobserve.org. And for this week, that's Reel to Reel. It's been so much fun celebrating here with everyone at the Big E. Thanks so much to Gene Cassidy and all who have worked so hard to put together this centennial celebration. Don't forget, there's still time to head on over to the fair for some great entertainment, exhibits, crafts, and of course, lots and lots of stuff to eat. The Big E runs through October 2nd, and as always, keep up to date on all of the latest news on the Catholic Church, both here in the Diocese of Springfield and around the world, by checking out our news and information website, that's iobserve.org. Also, you can friend us on Facebook. We are at Catholic Communications. And I will see you right back here next week as we visit Our Lady of the Cross Church in Holyoke for another edition of Reel to Reel, your window on the world around you. We leave you now with this video postcard from this centennial edition of the Big E.
Reel to Reel is a production of the Catholic Communications Corporation, funded in part by the annual Catholic Appeal, and the support of you, our faithful viewers.